Welcome back to another Pylon YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be just reviewing, I guess, mocking the mock of Daniel Jeremiah's 2.0 mock. I don't believe I did a mock or a mock the mock for Daniel Jeremiah's 1.0. I have this mock draft came out on February 22nd, and I honestly haven't looked at it since. I'm leaving my dogs in here because I'm on dog sitting duty, and I don't want to put them in the crate. But if they make too much noise, I might have to edit them out. But hopefully Tater Tot and Tucker cool it off a little bit in the background. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead, get into this mock draft. Let's see. Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel Jeremiah usually does some pretty good stuff. Like, I'm more of someone who makes their own opinions, but like, obviously reads about everything, but then comes back into like, what does the Mike brain say? And Daniel Jeremiah is usually pretty good. So let's see what. Sorry, it could be a disaster. Let's see what they got. Let's see what he got for this one. Jaguars up first. Blah blah blah. Okay, Jaguars take Evan Neal. So if you've been following this channel, this is my pick. Like, I think it's between him and Ikem Ekwonu. I think you just gotta invest in the future, and that is with protecting. That is doing what it takes to make Trevor Lawrence's life easier. Not what makes the Jaguars better. What makes Trevor Lawrence better? Because that's the guy you drafted number 1 overall, generational talent, and you want to see him take a Joe Burrow type leap. And we saw what type of disasters and success the Bengals had with, building around Joe Burrow. Even though the offensive line is still pretty lackluster, they have a solid left tackle. I'm forgetting his name. But there are some bright spots on that line. It's still trash. Same thing with the Jaguars, right? Like, you got Cam Robinson and Walker Little as your tackles of the future. Hopefully, Cam Robinson, I believe, is on the franchise tag, so they may look to let him walk and replace him or sign him. And if they do sign him, I think that this pick will, without question, be Ikem Ekwonu. I think if they let him walk, as in Cam Robinson, this will be Ikem Ekwonu regardless. Like, if I had to put money on this draft, on this pick, I would definitely throw some dollars on Ikem Ekwonu because there's a high likelihood. Like I forget who I was watching. I think it was Franchise Football on YouTube, but he even said it, and like, I've been saying it for a while. I don't know if I've ever seen a run blocking prospect as good as Ikem Ekwonu. That's why, like I've said it multiple times, he's my number 1 prospect in the draft. If I'm the Jaguars, I'm taking him number 1 overall because you already are a pretty run first heavy team, and now even though Urban Meyer's gone, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Travis Etienne, and you have James Robinson. So and Trevor Lawrence has legs, like he's a mobile quarterback. Ikem Ekwonu is going to make, like Josh, like take a page out of Brian Daboll's book and look what you could do with designed quarterback runs. And I think Ikem Ekwonu gives you that edge that Evan Neal and Charles Cross won't give you, even though Charles Cross hype has been coming up pretty fast. But I do like this pick. I think this is definitely the safest pick. But let's see what he got for the Lions at pick 2. Aiden Hutchinson. I don't think there's much to say about this. I think it would be interesting. Here's where my brain is going as I keep studying these prospects and reading about the draft and new developments, blah, blah, blah. I think the gap in certain positional groups at the top is much more substantial than the next tier of players, if that makes sense. So, for instance, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are the two number one and number 2 edge rusher prospects, but I truly do not know how big is the gap between the Trayvon Walkers, the David Ajabos. Those are first-round guys, but let's even go further into the Kingsley Enagbaris, the Arnold Ebiketis, like these second-round guys who may develop into better prospects or better players than these top 2 prospects in Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. And with that being said, I think with how good, or not good, but how solid the Lions' offensive line is, maybe you trade this pick back and you take Malik Willis. Or if you want to go defensively, I actually think it makes a lot of sense to take Kyle Hamilton here. Now, again, if you take Aiden Hutchinson, I think it's still a solid pick. That's not what I'm not saying. But I think with the Lions they have the 32nd pick, the second pick, and then I think they have the 33rd pick and another pick in the second. And with that 33rd pick, if you go Kyle Hamilton here, maybe take Sam Howell or Kenny Pickett if one of them falls to you at 32, or you take a wide receiver at 32, you're still going to get a pretty solid edge player at that 34 pick. I think I said 33. I meant 34. But yeah, let's see what we got for Texans at 3. And he goes with Kyle Hamilton. So for the Texans, I think it's a little bit different of a story. Like if Ikem Ekwonu here, I'd probably go with him. Charles Cross even, I think I would take at 3. Kyle Hamilton, I think there's a very strong case and argument for Kyle Hamilton to be the best player in the draft. And I'm curious what he says. I don't want to scroll too much. Because I got this pretty Yo! Chill out. I got this pretty zoomed in, so I don't want to scroll too far. But he says, I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans try to trade down for this spot. They have so many needs. If they stay here in Hamilton's versus... now I saw the next pick. I think for the Texans, though, like, you really got to start building the offense. You have some bright spots on the defensive line, but I don't know, man. Like, I think with how sorry your offensive line is, if this pick isn't a tackle or a trade back, I think I'd probably dip in or gamble on Kayvon Thibodeau before before I took Kyle Hamilton. Because even though Kyle Hamilton will probably be the anchor of this defense for a long time with how versatile he is, people are trying to say he's not versatile. That's nonsense. Like, even if he's not great at like, talking about the term versatility, right? Like, if we look at Kyle Pitts, the reason why so many people were hyped up on Kyle Pitts was the size, the speed, the sheer prospect intangibles, but also, like, you can line him up out wide, you can line him up in the slot. Kyle Hamilton could do those things on a defensive side of the ball. Now, obviously, Kyle Pitts, to continue this analogy, is better on certain maybe like in certain spots. Maybe that is out wide, coming out of the slot, coming off the line, like. But he's not as good as what he at the versatility aspect at what he's best at. With Kyle Hamilton, it's the same thing. He could play out. He could play nickel. He could come in off the edge. Like, he may not be the best edge rusher or like blitzer from the safety position. He may not be the best in nickel coverage, but he does so much at an exceptional level that it's just another chess piece. That's my defense of Kyle Hamilton, but. I don't know. If I'm the Texans, I'd probably go offensive line or edge rusher. Pick 4, I saw it, but it's Ikem Ekwonu. He got it as Icky Ekwonu. That's his nickname if you didn't know. The reason, and here's where I would kind of push back on this pick, nothing to do with Ikem. I think this is a home run pick for the Jets if they land him, but for how they play football and how their scheme is, I think and I've said this before, but I think Charles Cross is a much better fit because I think they want to become more of that, air raid type offense with Zach Wilson. I would not be surprised if they went, if KT fell, I think they'd have to go with Kayvon Thibodeau because I think that's going to they haven't had that true edge rusher, right? And they have Keenan Williams, and he's a home run player. Like, he is a fantastic player. He's very young, but I don't believe they've unlocked his true potential yet because they have failed to give him help on the edge, right? So this pick, how I'm looking at it now, is if Kayvon Thibodeau's here, not only are you getting an elite edge rusher, potentially, but you're also getting someone to make Keenan Williams the focal point of your defense better, right? Or if you want to get Zach Wilson help, and I think why they would rather Ikem, now that I'm thinking about it out loud, why they would take Ikem over Charles Cross is because they really like, I think, George Font. They want George Font and Mekhi Becton to be their tackles, and they have Elijah Vera Tucker, and they want to put Icky probably at left guard and move. I think Vera Tucker's playing left guard, but if I'm wrong, he says it would be an immediate upgrade at right tackle or right guard. Ikem has not played on the right side of the line ever. He just has at NC State. They've always kept him at left guard or left tackle. He's got my boot. Tucker. No. Anyways, but if they're going to put him at guard, it makes sense. I would just prefer they put him at left guard instead of right guard. But my point in this being is they're not a run-first offense, right? They don't have that power back, that feature back, and maybe they go ahead and draft one in the second or third round. They have 2 picks inside the top 10 of both round, of the first and second round, I believe. And they could go ahead and take a Breece Hall or a Kenneth Walker or, insert running back here to complement Michael Carter. But Michael Carter is not that bell cow running back. He just doesn't have the size to be it. Not anything against his talent. He just does not have the size to be a bell cow 3-down back. I think he has the talent. I just worry about injury. Like, I worry about him getting injured. So if they if they take Akem to put him at guard, I really like it. I think Akem will be a Pro Bowl level guard almost immediately in the NFL. It just depends on this is how high I am on Akem. I think he would be as good of a run blocker or better of a run blocker than Quentin Nelson was coming out of the draft. I don't think that's too much of an exaggeration either. But anyway, we've talked about this pick enough. Let's talk about the Giants. Giants at pick 5, they're taking Trayvon Walker. I know Trayvon Walker is generating a ton of hype. Warranted hype. I just don't know if he's top 5 yet. Now, when it's said and done, could he potentially play as a top 5 prospect? Like, he should have been a top 5 prospect? Potentially. But if you're going to take an edge rusher here, which I disagree for the Giants, because the rumor is, as of today, they're going to decline Daniel Jones' option, which I think the plan for the Giants would be if he balls out, which is what they want to see. So they're going to address the offensive line. If he balls out, you franchise tag him the next year, and then if he balls out again, you extend him. I don't see how even like Trayvon Walker, right? Like, why are you not taking Kayvon Thibodeau here? Like, I think Trayvon Walker could potentially be this guy, but I think for Wink Martindale too, like, he'd rather the home run hitting edge than the versatile edge. I don't know. I just don't think Trayvon Walker's top 5 yet. I think he is getting very close to top 10. Like, I've mocked him inside the top 13 before, top 15, but pick 5 is a little rich. I don't really like this pick at all. Yeah, this is a pretty poop explanation as well. 2 sentences, and one of them is just a pretty open-ended statement. Like, duh. You could say this about any team. But anyway, pick 6 is the Panthers, and I think they should go. I'd probably go Malik Willis or Cross, but let's see what he does. Trevor Penning. Wow. Wow. Okay. One thing about Trevor Penning that I will say that's probably the only red flag I have for him. I don't really care about what people say about, oh, he's trash, oh, he's this, oh, he's that. The big red flag I have is the penalties. And to put it bluntly, and this is kind of the only way I can think of putting it, he just seems like a dickhead. Like, all the penalties he gets are for unnecessary roughness, holding, like, stupid stuff. Like, which I get he's a raw prospect, etc. But with how bad the Panthers' offensive line is, I don't know why you would reach for someone. I guess this pick would make sense if Cross was off the board, Kwanu was off the board, Neal was off the board. But with Cross still being on the board, like, Cross is probably going to be a franchise left tackle or right tackle. And for the Panthers, you probably put him at left tackle. I don't know why you would experiment with Trevor Penning. Like, I think that a lot of people try to get cute. Like, my mock drafts, I think, are pretty boring because they're pretty similar. But that's because, like, to use the word again, like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead. Like, I think this is very much a dickhead pick. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say about this pick. I mean, they're desperate for O-line help. This is a little bit early. Penning, yeah, like, he'll start day 1 in Carolina, but would he start day 1 anywhere else? Probably, but Cross would start. Like, my argument would be Cross would start day 1. Anyway, Giants at pick 7, Drake London. Wow. You okay, the Giants have tried this, giving blah blah blah. They tried to give him weapons last year, but they've realized, like, okay, wow, that didn't work because our offensive line, besides Andrew Thomas, is 4 trash cans. Like, I don't think it's an exaggeration. I've heard multiple people talk about, like, popular hosts or TV show hosts. Specifically, the one I'm thinking of is Colin Cowherd. he had a discussion with, I don't know if it was an interview or what it was, but he talked to an NFL executive, and he was like, yo, like, the Giants' offensive line is so bad that besides Andrew Thomas, those players, like, this is important. He didn't say they shouldn't be starting. He said they shouldn't be in the NFL. So why are you taking a receiver at 7? Yeah, this is a poop draft for the Giants. I think Drake London's gonna be great. Like, he's in my top 3 for receivers, no question. He might even be my receiver 1, but I don't like that. I don't like this draft for the Giants. Pick 8 is the Falcons, and he went with Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, yeah, like, this is wacky, dude. Like, I just think he's trying to be cute with these picks, and like, I mean, okay, this isn't a cute pick. This is the absolute right pick if it fell this way for the Falcons, but because the Falcons, one of the Falcons' biggest needs is they need to get to the quarterback, right? They do not do that in the slightest. Like, there's one of the. I think it's a toss up between. Like, I understand Matt Ryan has a lot to overcome. And Matt Ryan's a solid quarterback, that's not what I'm saying, but he's old now. Is the biggest concern that I have with Matt Ryan. And if you follow this channel at all, you know that one of my theories for Matt Ryan during the season was why they weren't pushing the ball down the field to Kyle Pitts was Matt Ryan was hurt and playing hurt. Because there was a lot of just dump-offs to Cordero Patterson. And then I think by week 5, they started pushing it down the field with before Ridley opted I don't even know what to call that, but before Ridley left with personal issues, mental health issues, like they just weren't doing it. And like one of the reasons being is their offensive line, the interior of their offensive line is bad. They have what's his face? I believe their right guard, who's actually very, very solid, and a lot of people think that he's a Pro Bowl. He was a Pro Bowl snub this year. I just can't remember his name. I think I'd probably get, like, Charles Cross is still here, but I guess, like, I'm just saying, like, realistically, Kayvon Thibodeau is not going to be here at 8. I've said this in the last mock draft video if you watched it. Like, all of the Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't care about football, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of that talk is people getting bored and having nothing else to talk about. I don't believe any of that for 1 second. The thing I worry about with Kayvon Thibodeau, though, is, like Jadeveon Clowney was a better prospect, and he busted out. Now, it could have been because he went to the Texans, who are a pretty poorly ran franchise, but I don't know, man. He says, Kayvon Thibodeau is a true wildcard in this draft. I could see him going anywhere from number 2 overall to outside of the top 10. Like that, he's not going outside. If he goes outside of the top 10, I would delete my YouTube channel. Like that I mean, that's just wild. That is just insane. Anyway, pick 9. What is this, Broncos? Yeah. They go. So, I like this pick. This is a pick I've been making, I think, in the past 2 mock drafts. Now, with Malik Willis still being on the board, again, let me back up. I don't think the Broncos have this pick, and I've said this every video. I think they do everything in their power to trade for Aaron Rodgers unless he retires. But I think that, assuming the board falls as we all expect, with Thibodeau being gone, Hutchinson being gone, possibly Willis being gone, Jermaine Johnson. I like Jermaine Johnson specifically to the Broncos because his floor is very, very high. And for someone who has a high floor, I feel like that's what you want in a win-now team. You could get a high ceiling guy and an upside guy like David Ajabo, but can he play the role you need him to year 1 for a 9th overall pick? You know what I mean? So, like, I like Jermaine Johnson because he's filling a need. He's filling a team need, and he's going to do it at a very high level right away. At least he should. All of the signs are pointing, like his Senior Bowl week, everything is pointing to he should be a very solid player day 1. And I like this pick for the Broncos. Continue to check every box. He followed up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think if they don't go Rodgers and they do keep this pick, perhaps they go with. I think Malik Willis will be the first quarterback off the board. I could see the Panthers. Like if any team is going to take him, I believe it's the Panthers. Wild card team to take him though would be the Lions at 2, and I don't know if they would do that at pick 2, but I would not be as surprised as with Kayvon Thibodeau at 2 than Trayvon Walker at 5. Like that's more of a shock to. Well, maybe Trevor Penning at 6 is more of a shock to me than anything else with Cross being on the board. But anyway, pick 10, New York Jets again, Sauce Gardner. I like this pick a lot. Like, so the Jets now address offensive line, and they're going for going as defense. Hamilton's gone. Like, this is usually a pick where, like, if Hamilton's still here, I think the Jets should pounce on it. But I do like the idea of Sauce Gardner going. I also think that, I could be wrong about this, but I think executives view Derek Stingley a lot different than YouTube does. I think Derek Stingley has proven he is a good enough player his freshman year. Well, like, that talent just doesn't go away. Sure, productivity falls off, but that could be a plethora of reasons, whether it's environment, team circumstances, coaching, etc. Where I think as good as I think it's becoming more of Sauce Gardner is the more sure pick, even though his ceiling is lower because he doesn't have the injury history, versus Stingley may have the higher ceiling, but the ankle could be a real concern. But I do like this draft for the Jets. I like this pick for the Jets. He said Gardner is his top rated corner, which I don't agree with. I mean, I don't disagree with. I think that Gardner, for me, I'm kind of going back and forth. But if I had to think, if healthy, who has the best career, I think I would take Stingley. If he's not, I haven't heard anything, but unless he's like has a ton of off the field issues, which I don't think he does. But anyway. Pick 11 is the Washington Commanders, and they go Kenyon Green. I think if this is the scenario, definitely, if they do lose Brandon Sheriff, I'm higher on Kenyon Green than a lot of other people. I just think his versatility on the line, like, I think versatility is becoming a more desirable trait, but I think there's few people out there that really see it as an elite trait, which is kind of what I see it as, because coaching has come so far in the NFL that being able to use players in different roles than game planned for is a huge deciding factor, especially when it comes to the playoffs. And I do think that Washington's team is playoff ready. And I think that could be a hot take, but I think they're really being held back by quarterback play. I would argue coaching is holding them back with Ron Rivera, and I would also argue that wide receiver play is really holding them back because they really don't have anybody outside of Terry McLaurin. And I'm really high. I've been high on Terry McLaurin since he came out of the draft. But I like this pick. Like, I think Kenyon Green should be picked around here because I think he will be a first round pick. I just think thinking about it, like, the Bengals, they're looking to take an offensive lineman unless they could land Teron Armstead from the Saints. With pick 31, I think they have their big board. I think a lot of people are mocking them Bernard Raymond, and I think he would be their last pick. Like, I think in real life, not just of who's doing the mock draft, blah, 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 blah. I think Bernard Raymond would be the last pick on the Bengals big board if they go O-line. But the way that I guess YouTube is doing it, and I keep saying how YouTube is doing it because NFL executives see things differently than YouTubers do. What I'm noticing is in almost every mock draft, corners are falling out of the first round. A lot of former first round corners are falling out because other players are generating hype, right? So if it came down to Bernard Raymond or let's say like Trent McDuffie or Kyler Gordon, you could make the argument that, there's our Eli Apple replacement. And maybe, like, if we have him, if they got Trent McDuffie, if they got Kyer Elam, if they got someone else, instead of Eli Apple, maybe they win the Super Bowl. But you could also argue maybe if they got Kenyon Green, they win the Super Bowl. But my point in all this rambling is Kenyon Green has fallen down a ton, his draft stock. And I think it's just because there's not a lot to say about him. Like, he's just, like, I use this over and over and over again. He is just so solid. Like, he is just a great fundamental offensive lineman. And I would say tackle, I could say guard, but he plays everywhere. So you can't, I just classify him as an offensive lineman because I think it's going to be up to the team with where they want to put him. I love Kenyon Green. I think he's just a very versatile, solid player. Anyway, pick 12 is the Vikings, and they go with Trent McDuffie. Now, that's interesting because Stingley's still on the board, but McDuffie is McDuffie's solid. He says McDuffie's one of the cleanest evaluations of the draft, and he plays a position of, one sentence. Very, very poor. I don't know if they do this on purpose, like Jeremiah keep it 2 sentences, or Daniel keep it 2 seconds. 2 sentences? Oh, my God. But, I think McDuffie is very solid. And I think that he has good size. He's got good, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate saying this, but he has. I know that this is a phrase, and I guess it describes what I'm trying to say. Very oily hips. Like he's very good at changing direction. You know what I mean? He is one of the cleanest prospects at the corner position. Like I think he's corner 3 on a lot of people's boards. I just think the Stingley slander is kind of getting out of control. But that's just my take. But I like this pick for the Vikings. They have one of the weakest corner rooms in all of football. And this is definitely something they would look to address. Whoever's here, Sauce, Stingley, maybe McDuffie. I would be interested, though, because like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was viewed as like a top 15 pick, and he fell to 52 because of a heart condition that didn't come up until draft night, actually, I think, or the week before the draft, and it wasn't public knowledge. That's why he fell all the way to 52 and was probably the biggest steal of the 2021 draft. I know I wanted my team to draft him, but yeah, I think this is a fine pick. I think right now what I'm really looking at, because free agency hasn't really started. It started, but it's not starting yet. You know, like players getting extended, players being on the move, etc., blah, blah, blah. I kind of am looking more so at where do I think this team is going to go positionally versus actual player. When we get down the road, like probably post-combine, I think we'll be able to pinpoint. That's my goal, is to be able to pinpoint which player the team is going to take. And it's going to be a lot easier now that John Gruden isn't drafting for anybody. Pick 13 is the Browns, and they go Karlaftis. See, like, I know that Jeremiah is super high on Karlaftis because I've seen him talk about Karlaftis a ton. And I think the thing with, like, when I think of Karlaftis is just a very, very high floor player. I don't think he's going to be anything elite, but I think his floor is so high that he'll be an immediate impact. And you pair him up with Myles Garrett on this Browns defense, and you got a solid front seven. My concern, though, is for the Browns really is, you know, this is not really a high upside player where you have Ajabo still on the board. Walker's gone. Johnson. Well, this is what, the fourth edge rusher gone? Hutchinson, Karlaftis, Walker, and KT. Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. I probably would just go wide receiver because I think your wide receiver 1 next year, if you're a Browns fan, is and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's Donovan Peoples-Jones or Rashad Higgins. I don't think Rashad Higgins is your 1, but he's your 2, I think. And you could get someone like Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks here. You know, I think Burks would fit well into the scheme. I don't know how well he would work with Baker, because I think that if they did draft Treylon Burks, they would try to use him as much as Deebo Samuel as possible to keep defenses guessing. Just keep the ball coming out of the backfield and away from Baker Mayfield. And, you know, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Burke, you'd have Burks, you'd have Chubb, and it would be very hard to game plan against all 3 of those players. And to Ernest Johnson, who I think the Browns are going to try to keep him, but I think he really, in the 3 games he played, has proven he could be a starting running back somewhere else. Now, again, context matters, and he is behind a top 3 offensive line, but he looked really solid every time he touched the ball. This is all I'm saying. Pick 14 is the Ravens, and they go with Derek Stingley. I like this pick a lot because I think the Ravens are going to try to trade up. I can see the Ravens trading up with the Panthers or the Giants for Sauce or Stingley. Because of how, not weak, I hate using the word weak because it's a very solid cornerback room, but the health is the concern. And, you know, I think why a lot of Ravens fans, like one of my best buddies is a Ravens fan, he wants Sauce more than anything. And I think Stingley, again, might be better than Sauce, but they don't want to go through that injury bug again. Like, they don't want to have Super Bowl expectations and have the season flounder because there's players are just getting hurt over and over and over again. So I like this pick. If Stingley's here at 14, I think that's a dream pick for the Ravens. Pick 15 is the Eagles, and they go with David Ajabo. I like this pick a lot. I think Ajabo, like the Eagles have proven their roster is good enough to make it to the playoffs as it is, and they have so many draft picks to make their team better. I think that Ajabo can be impactful enough year 1, but by year 2 or 3, when you have your franchise quarterbacks, I think it's kind of clear now that you can only get so far with Jalen Hurts. By the time they get their guy, whether that's via trade, whether that's via whatever, Ajabo will be a 3-down edge rusher. I think that's a ceiling, definitely. But I like I've said this before. I don't think it's too far fetched. I think his ceiling is as high as KT and Aiden Hutchinson. I truly do. Pick 16 is Devontae Wyatt. Interesting. It's not interesting that it's over Jordan Davis because I think Devontae Wyatt has earned that hype to be on the same level as Jordan Davis. And maybe he has a higher ceiling than Jordan Davis because if you've listened, you know my concern with Jordan Davis is can he develop, like kind of like Keenan Williams, like can he develop as an interior pass rusher, which I think is the concern, where even though Devontae Wyatt isn't as big as a space eater, I think he has more potential to be a run stuffer and a pass rusher from the interior. But why I'm saying this is surprising is I think corner is a need, linebackers a need, and wide receivers a need. And yes, maybe his thinking was the D tackle class is pretty shallow, so you might as well get him here, which I understand, but I think I'd probably McDuffie's already off the board, and Sauce and Stingley are, so I guess your next best bet would be Booth or Kyler Gordon or what's his name? Roger McCreary, but I don't know. I don't think this is a bad pick, but I don't think it's a great pick. And I do agree with this. White is going to surprise scouting when he tested the combine. I do believe that. Chargers go with Chris Olave. If they let Mike Williams go, I agree they go wide receiver, potentially. I don't think it's Olave, though. I think Burks is better than Olave. I think Wilson's better than Olave. I think Jameson Williams is better than Olave. I mean, if you, again, I keep saying this, but if you follow the channel, you know I'm not a huge Olave guy. He's been impressing me more than I had originally had him pegged, but I don't believe he is this elite. I think his ceiling, let's think about the future too with this pick, right? I don't think Olave is ever going to be a wide receiver one. Sure, you could play him this year. You're trying to win now. You take him as your wide receiver 2 next to Keenan Allen, but I would much rather them take, again, Charles Cross is still here and they desperately need a right tackle. I don't know, man. If you're going to go receiver, it's not Olave for me, and I think this should be, Burks is still on the board too. Wilson's still on the board. I don't like that pick. New Orleans goes with Kenny Pickett. I don't hate it, and I have said that the Saints are probably going to go quarterback because, they really have to reshape their identity as an organization now that Sean Payton's gone. There's a new regime in there. My thing is, though, I think that Willis should be the first quarterback off the board because I think Kenny Pickett is like a Kirk Cousins-esque type quarterback, a Matt Ryan type quarterback, maybe a more athletic Matt Ryan, but I don't know, man. I think this is a fine pick. I don't think it's a bad pick by any means, but I would go with Malik Willis just because of, you got Kamara coming out of the backfield. You have that great offensive line. You have Michael Thomas. Everything's in there to put a quarterback in to go through the growing pains and be ready for when you're ready to compete again. Now, with Kenny Pickett, you might accelerate that process, but are you getting the best value out of your pick by taking an inferior quarterback is the question. Now, granted, Malik Willis has way higher bust potential than Kenny Pickett does, but Malik Willis' ceiling is miles higher than Kenny Pickett's. That's not any slight at Kenny Pickett. It's just a fact. Anyway, Eagles at pick 19 go with Garrett Wilson. I like this pick a lot. I think that they need to pair. They need someone who can run shallow routes, and they need someone who can take the top off of defense, and I think Wilson does both of that at a very, very high level. Because they need, if they're going to ride with Jalen Hurts for one more year, they need someone where he could just dump the ball off and take pressure away from Devontae Smith more so than provide for Jalen Hurts. Because I think they're putting the pieces around Jalen Hurts to find out, all right, does this kid have it or not? And I think, having he had 17 passing yards in the game against the Bucs in the wild card. I just don't think that's gonna cut it. moving forward. Unless, Hurts takes another step. We'll see, but I like this pick a lot because I think the Eagles' mindset should be, let's build the best team, and if Jalen Hurts works, great. If he doesn't, we're going to move on. Move on to the point where we are looking for someone who's going to take us to the playoffs and beyond now. Because, multiple quarterbacks could be a free agent come 2023, as in Kirk Cousins will be a free agent. Depending on the contracts, Russell Wilson might be a free agent. Jimmy Garoppolo might be a free agent. Depending on how long these guys get signed for. Now, I don't think Russell Wilson will be a one-year deal wherever he lands. Yeah. I mean, Russell will get traded, so they're going to inherit that contract. But, yeah, I like this pick, long story short. Pick 20, Steelers get their guy in Malik Willis. He didn't say here, but the Steelers have been infatuated with Malik Willis. I don't think he's here at 20. Personally, just the nature of the draft is quarterbacks. I could really see the Eagles using a pick on Malik Willis if he's there. But again, given the nature of the draft, teams are more likely to reach on a quarterback than any other position. That's just how the draft works. But yeah, good pick for the Steelers. I like it a lot. It's going to help Najee Harris out. They do need to fix that O-line, but we'll see what they do in free agency. I think they got relatively good cap space. I think they're in the $30 million and beyond range. But, yep. Pick 21 is the Patriots, and they go with Devin Lloyd. I think Devin Lloyd is a top 10 prospect. I am very uncertain, though, where he's going to go in the draft. The Jets may trade back and take him. The Giants could trade back and take him. The Ravens may take him. I just don't know where he's going to go. I think this is a great pick for the Patriots. I don't know where he will land in the first round. He definitely is a first-round pick. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't know where it's going to – it could be as soon as 7, but it could be as late as, 21 or beyond. Depending on, I think this, a team that would trade up for him, if he's here at 21, is the Titans. The Titans need a linebacker. So I don't know. It's a great pick. It's not what I'm saying. With Devin Lloyd, I don't know where he's going to go, is all I'm saying. Charles Cross is still here. Damn. Anyway, I'm just baffled. I guess I'm higher on Cross than not. But anyway, pick 22. The Raiders, all right, they take Charles Cross. I mean, this would be a steal for the Raiders. I think this is their dream pick. Oops, sorry, Tate. I should kick them. He's under my feet. Yeah, I think this is definitely a steal for the Raiders if he's here. Start right tackle from day one. Yep, I agree. They're going to run an air raid style offense under Josh McDaniels most likely. They need the weapons to do so. I think Zay Jones is very underrated. Not saying underrated as in he's this elite talent, but he's definitely serviceable. He's solid. Hunter Renfrow is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. I think, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say he's top 5 in terms of route running. I think that guy runs some of the craziest routes in the NFL. Maybe top 5 is a little crazy, but top 10, definitely not. I like this, especially if they're going to try to keep, maybe they keep Derek Carr and they bring in Devontae Adams and you get Cross. That's a dream scenario. Absolute dream scenario for the Raiders because they already were competitive in what I thought to be for the Raiders a lackluster season, given all the turmoil they had to overcome with Harry Ruggs, with John Gruden, with whoever got caught with the loaded gun in that video. The Raiders overcame a lot, and maybe if the officiating wasn't so bad, they beat the Bengals. So I think the Raiders are a lot better than I give them credit, which is something I need to keep reminding myself. This is not a bad football team. And I never thought it was, but in my mind, they're a subpar playoff team where they're really not. I think with structure and a few touch-ups, this is going to be a very, very good team in 2022. Pick 23 is the Cardinals, and they go with Kyler Gordon. I like this. Given with how many edge rushers are gone already, I like them going corner. I think for me, with Jordan Davis still being here, maybe they go nose tackle. But I think for them, it's edge rusher, corner, and then maybe IDL. But I like this pick a lot. I think Kyler Gordon's generating a ton of hype for himself, rightfully so. A lot of these players are, generating hype that are deserving of it. Because I'm someone who, like, if they're getting hype and they're not that good, like, I'll call it out. It's just how I am. Dallas Cowboys, 24, they go into Kobe Dean. I like this pick. Like, I think you're getting a mini Micah Parsons with this pick as well. Like, especially in the Alabama game, the national championship, this kid can fly around the football field. And I think that I keep hearing a lot of people say, like, and I've said this too, like, a lot of people will say, quote, I think the concern for NFL executives is the size, which I would agree with. The size is not ideal, but the production is ideal. So, he's a little bit smaller, but who cares? He moves like he's the right size. Maybe, you game plan around not to drop him back in coverage as much, or maybe drop him in the coverage in the flats, like don't have him cover the middle of the field. But this kid off the edge, this kid out of the, like, coming in between, in filling in gaps, going sideline to sideline, he is maybe a little bit more athletic than Devin Lloyd, in my opinion. He's just not Devin Lloyd's size. Devin Lloyd's size is 6'3". I think Nakobe Dean's just 6 foot. But he says he can direct traffic, provide leadership, and free up Micah Parsons. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything that this is being said. I don't think I play him at Mike, but, tomato, tomato. Pick 25. Wow. Treylon Burks will never be here at pick 25 because John Gruden's not drafting. But if John Gruden was drafting, this would be a good pick. I think the Bills probably go guard or corner. I don't think they need wide receiver as much as I thought they did when I started doing these mock drafts, being that Gabe Davis is living up to the hype that was generated around him. Like, he was a big sleeper for fantasy at the beginning of the year, and it just didn't live up to it. But Gabe Davis is a fine option. Stephon Diggs is there. If for me, Treylon Burks does play a lot out of the slot, so maybe they're going to put him in the slot to replace Cole Beasley. But if Treylon Burks is here at 25, I think you got to take him. With how many corners are off the board, the other pick I would take is Zion Johnson. But I like this pick. I just don't think it's realistic at all. Because I agree, you couldn't pass on him if he's here at 25. You just couldn't. Pick 26 is the Titans, and they go with Linderbaum. Wow. I forgot he was on the board. I don't hate this pick at all. I like it. You need to help Derrick Henry. You need to reassure that offensive line, make sure it's continuing to produce in the run game. I like Linderbaum. I mean, this is, I think, a little late for him, but I like him. I like this pick. I just don't know if he's here at 26. 27, Bucks go with Jameson Williams. I like this pick because Godwin is definitely, here's what I'm thinking, right? With the Bucks, because it's impossible to say as of right now. The Bucks, if they could land an elite quarterback, whether it's Watson, Rodgers, probably wouldn't be Rodgers. I think Rodgers would get traded to the AFC, but we keep in the list. Russ, any of these big name guys, I think the band will stay together, and I think Bruce Arians will stay there. If they can't, Bruce Arians is out, Godwin's out, everybody's out. And then that turns into, do they go Sam Howell here? Do they go quarterback here? Do they go, offensive line? But if Godwin's gone, Bruce Arians gone, etc., Jameson Williams would be a fine pick. I don't know. It just depends on what the new head coach would want. And I guess Bruce Arians is kind of strapped in for one more year, but he still has time to be like, hey, I'm retiring. It just would screw the Bucks. But, yeah, I mean, I don't hate this pick. If they lose via free agency. I think it's more so of if they lose Chris Godwin in free agency because they don't land a quarterback. That's how, I'm just taking it one step further. Pick 28 is the Packers. Boye Mafe has been generating a ton of hype. I don't know if I have him in round 1, though. I'm sure we'll be shocked and someone will take him. I think he, this is someone who definitely is earning the hype, right? But again, is he round 1 yet? Some people say yes, some people say no. I do agree, though, Packers need to go edge. But I think this should be wide receiver or quarterback or tackle or edge. Maybe even linebacker. Both of the top two are gone. It's just really, I think the Packers are in for a rude awakening if Rodgers leaves as an organization. I don't think they're going to, you can't win the lottery twice, which they did, but let alone 3 times. Jordan Love is not going to be a Rodgers Favre type player. Excuse me. It's just not going to happen. And he's looked pretty pathetic. And I'm not trying to poop on Packers fans. One of my best buddies is a Packers fan. But, I don't think that team actually, I don't think that franchise actually knows what they're doing. Because how did you only win? It is unquestioned that Aaron Rodgers is probably the most talented quarterback we've seen, at least in the last decade or so, in terms of actual physical talent at the quarterback position. Not doing anything crazy like Patrick Mahomes, just, being able to throw a football. It's unreal what Rodgers could do. How did you win 1 Super Bowl with him? I think it's just, Packers front office is too emotional. They were butting heads with Rodgers, and they're too stubborn to let Rodgers win and, build around Rodgers. And, how is it that Rodgers only has had 1 elite receiver at a time in the past 10 years? He had Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, which is great. He had Greg Jennings, which was great. But then since then, it's just been Devontae Adams. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, you could have drafted T. Higgins instead of, and I'm a huge T. Higgins fan. If you follow me on Twitter, I just blow up T. Higgins all the time. I could have drafted T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, any of those guys, and you took Jordan Love, and it was so out of pocket. It was so crazy that, you thought you were going to strike gold a third time or win lottery a third time, and you definitely clearly missed. So this could be, this is a wild card for the, where's my mouse at? For the Packers, because we don't know what's going to happen in free agency yet. Tyler Smith, I know Tyler Smith has been generating a lot of hype. And I think he's moving up draft boards pretty quickly, and I think the Dolphins should go receiver or tackle. But if this is the case, the problem with this is I don't know who's on the board right now because it's just from memory. But maybe you trade this back for more picks if this is how the board crumbled, because if I remember correctly, your best bet here would be Dotson if you go receiver, or Pickens, maybe David Bell. I have Dotson over all of them, and I have Pickens over Bell. But I just think that given the Dolphins' amazing cap space, I think they have the second highest cap space. They're going to be big. They're going to go out and probably get Teron Armstead, and if that's the case, they're going to want a receiver. But I don't think they're in position to draft a developmental tackle. I don't think that's what they want to do, especially because they're trying to give Tua a clean evaluation and fix that O-line. But we'll see. But I agree, position-wise, this is the right pick. Tyler Smith, the guy, maybe not. You know what I mean? Pick 30 is the Chiefs, and they go with Daxton Hill. I've mocked this a ton, and I think it's a good pick. Maybe you go Dotson, spice up your receiving core a little bit, but not too much to say here. But this is basically my reasoning as well if Matthew leaves. But I actually heard that some NFL teams view Daxton Hill as a corner as opposed to a safety, which is interesting. Pick 31 is the Bengals, and they go they go Bernard Raymond, and I just think that this is their last pick. Do you go Roger McCreary here? You know what I mean? If they land Teron Armstead or some of these other guys, maybe they get Brandon Sheriff and kick someone over tackle. You know what I mean? If they landed Teron Armstead, he would be playing tackle. But if that's the case, you probably go corner here. And if not, do you just take a corner instead of Bernhard Raymond? But I don't know. I think it's going to be an offensive tackle or a corner for the Bengals. They might, given with what they just did in the Super Bowl and saw how close they got, if Cross is here at 23, was it? 22? Maybe they trade up for Cross, that's something I definitely could see happening. Because, you made it. You already were there. Your team's young enough. You got good cap space. screw draft capital, get your team right for what you needed to win that Super Bowl. That's how I'm looking at it. So, I don't know. I think this is a reasonable pick. I'm not pooping on the pick, but, like, I think they want someone who's going to help them win now, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if Raymond's going to be that. Or Ryman, however you say it. And then pick 32 is the Lions, and they go Jordan Davis. What? I just don't think 2 QBs go in the first. Like, I think Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder at 32. I don't know, man. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. This is Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0. I didn't really like it that much, to be honest with you. Definitely some interesting thoughts. Definitely some interesting things to think about. But let me know what you think of the video. Let me know how you think he did it for your team. I think next week I'm going to try this. So, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But next Sunday, I think at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to do a live mock draft on Twitch. And I'll have all my Twitch stuff linked, and I'm going to tweet it out. So make sure you follow the Twitter of, where everything's going to be and how to get to it, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that'll be really fun to do a live mock with you guys. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the channel. Let me know what you want to see in the future. Let me know if you got any video ideas. I got my positional rankings in the works. Just trying to find time to post them. I got to pretty much front load the week like a Tate. Just a little loaf. Yeah, I got to front load a lot of my videos on Sunday. So if you see me post a bunch of videos in the same outfits, because I'm recording them all on the same day. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know your comments. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that cool YouTube stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!